How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Nud Gimel, Daf 53 of Masechta Gittin. Friends, today we're just gonna discuss stuff, man. We're gonna friggin' discuss stuff. I mean, it includes Hezek Shenu Nikush Me Hezek. Yeah, that's gonna be a bunch of it. All right. We're going to talk about stuff. Okay. Nun Beis, Amud Beis, about 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Nun Beis, Amud Beis, at the Mishnah, 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Hamatame v'amidamea, what? Hamatame v'amidamea, what? Hamatame v'amidamea v'amenasach b'shogeg friends, I hope it's okay. It seems like I'm not able to pronounce words today. Sorry. Maybe I should slow down. If I don't want to slow down, is it okay if I just keep on mumbling and then just keep on stopping and then keep on saying I can't speak, and that's okay? Good. Wait. I really have to be able to read. Okay, Hamatame. So somebody who is Mitame, somebody's Truma, right? So, Shimon has Truma and Ruvain's Mitame the Truma. Vamidameya. Why am I having a hard time saying that word? Vamidameya. Or if Shimon has Chulin and Ruvain throws a Truma bomb in there. It's not a good word to use. You have Chulin and Ruvain throws some Truma in there. How about that? V'amenasech, or the Gemara is about to explain what menasech means. Okay, so let's just let the Gemara explain it. B'shogeg poter b'meizer chayiv. If he does it by accident, so he's poter. If he does it by purpose, then he's chayiv. So I was just in a groove with somebody, and she was asking me about Talmud. Yeah, sometimes people in groove, they ask me about they ask me about Babylon Talmud, and then sometimes they listen, and you just gotta hope that there's nothing awkward, because one of my friends on groove listened to one of the dapim in Yevamis and Perika Ariel, and I don't think she's listened again. That was an awkward daf. But she teaches sexual health in the middle of the Amazon forest, so Amazon rainforest. So she was actually okay with the topic. But anyways, it was one of those dafs where it's we're not going to explain what it is. Well, let's really explain what that means. Anyways, so today, somebody was asking me about Babylon Talmud and stuff, and then she asked me what today's daf was talking about, so I explained the concept of Truma. And she asked, how can you tell the difference if a person did it by accident or if he did it on purpose? Right, I was saying if it's b'mezid, he's chayiv. If it's b'shogeg, he's poter. So I guess if he says I guess one way to know is if you say hey, don't do it, and he does it anyways. I guess that's one way that you would know that he's b'mezid. Or if he admits that it, otherwise I guess you would have to prove it. Either you would have to admit it, or otherwise I guess you wouldn't be able to prove it if he says he did it by accident. Thought it was a good kasha. She's working on her PhD in architecture. Okay. Akoponim. So now, okay. Hamatami v'amidamea v'amenasech b'shogeg poter b'mezid chayiv. Okay, very good. So here we go. Says the Gemara, Itmar, it was stated, menasech, that when it comes to menasech. So what's menasech? What do you think menasech is? So, well, let's actually see, because it's machlokas. Rav Omer menasech mamash Shmuel Omer ma'ariv. So Rav says it means literally menasech. What's menasech? Maybe it's what you think it is. That Ruvain takes Shimon's wine and he libates it for getchkes. So that's what Rav says. Shmuel says no, that's not what it means. It means that Ruvain takes yain nesech, right, wine that was already libated for getchkis, and he mixes it together with Shimon's regular wine, so that now Shimon can't drink the wine anymore because it's got yain nesech in there. So again, so where am I? So Itmar stated Menasech. When it comes to Menasech, Rav Amar Menasech Mamish. So Rav says that means that he takes Reuven takes Shimon's wine and he libates it for getchkis. Shmuel Amar, where Shmuel says Ma'ariv, where Shmuel says that it means that Reuven takes yain nesech and mixes it together with regular wine, but right with Shimon's wine, and now Shimon can't drink it anymore. Mando Amar Ma'ariv, my time of the Amar Menasech. So Shmuel, who says that it's ma'ariv, that he's making a combination, he's mixing it together. How come he doesn't say like Rav, that he's mamish libating for the getchkis? So Omer Loch, Shmuel would say, Menasech kom lebedrabim minei. Well, Shmuel will say that if he's literally libating wine for the getchkis, well then we'd say kom lebedrabim. I mean that's a problem. You're not allowed to libate wine for the getchkis, and if you do, you chayiv skila, if I'm not mistaken. So you're not going to have to pay, right? If Reuven libates Shimon's wine for the getchkis, and now he's chayiv skila, he doesn't need to pay Shimon for the price of the wine, because that's what's called kam lebedarabim minei, right? We penalize him with the most extreme of punishments, and in this case that would be skila. He would be off the hook for the for the theft. Ve'idach, whereas Rav says, no, Reuven would need to pay Shimon for the theft, because Kid Reb Yirmiyah, like Reb Yirmiyah, the Amar Reb Yirmiyah, Mishas Agboya, who dekana, well, because the second that Reuven picked up Shimon's wine, he was kona it, and at that point he stole it, and at that point he's chayiv to pay Shimon for it. But it will only be chayiv skila, chayiv misa, when he does the libation for the getchkis. So those are two separate points. So at the time that he picks it up, he steals it and he's chayiv to pay Shimon. At the time that he libates it for the getchkis, so then he's at that point he's chayiv misa. My time lomer ma'ariv, and Rav, who says menasech, how come he doesn't say like Shmuel, who says it's mixing it together? So Omar Loch, because Rav would say to you, Ma'ariv hanu midameya. Well, Ma'ariv is better than the same thing as midameya. What's midameya? Reuven goes over to Shimon's produce, his chulin, and he throws in some truma, and now makes a mess. It's a mixture of chulin and truma, and Shimon can't eat it anymore, assuming he's Yisrael. So excuse me, Babylon. That's be'etzim the same thing as Reuven goes to Shimon's wine and he pours in yain nesech. So Rav says, I don't need both midameya and menasech if menasech is me'ariv. V'idach, whereas Shmuel says, no, I do need both, because knosuhu miknosu lo yalfinun. Because these are knases. Because the assumption being that hezek she'enu nikar lo shmi hezek, that these are damages that aren't recognizable, right? You're taking some wine, you're pouring into some other wine. You're taking some produce, you're throwing it into some other produce. There's nothing recognizable in this damage. So it's what's called hezek she'enu nikar, and we're assuming lo shmi hezek. So it's not actually considered damaging. And midoraisa, the Reuven would not be chayiv. But it's a knas that we say that we don't want people to do this, so therefore we fine him to make him make Reuven pay. But because it's a knas, it's not an actual din, so you can't learn one from the other, right? The knas applies where the knas applies, and it doesn't apply where it doesn't apply, and therefore we have to state each case separately, that Reuven would be chayiv for midameya as well as for menasech. And Shmuel says that it's talking about a mixture. So now Rav had said, however, meaning Shmuel had said, you can't learn out knas from one knas from another. Rav seems to have no problem with that, right? He was saying, look, if menasech is a mixture, well then it's the same thing as midameya. So ulamanda yolav knasu miknasu. So Rav, who learns out, who has no problem, saying, hey, we can learn out, I would be able to learn out menasech from midameya. So kol hane lomo li. How come I need all three? How come I need mitame, midameya, menasech? If we can learn out one from the other, so just teach one of them. So tzricha, I need all three. Di tana mitame. So if we would only have the case of mitame, that Ruvain is mitame Shimon's stuff, itrume hava, itrume. If Ruvain is mitame Shimon's trume, so hava amina mishum de kamafsid legamre. I would think, okay, fine. If we would only have mitame, I would think if we're talking about Ruvain being mitame Shimon's trume, well, okay, it makes sense why Ruvain would have to pay Shimon, because what can Shimon can't eat that. Nobody can eat that truma anymore. It's truma tmeya. Even a kohen can't eat truma tmeya ever. So therefore, since nobody can now eat it, so that's why Reuven has to pay for it. V'i mitame chulin. And if Reuven is mitame Shimon's chulin, so mishum de also ligum tumul chulin sheberetz Yisrael. Again, Reuven would have to pay Shimon because he's not allowed to be mitame truma chulin in Eretz Yisrael because of the prushim who are ochel tyrus, right? Ochel chulein b'tayr, right? That in Eretz Yisrael there were people who would even eat chulin in a state of tyre, and therefore, so for these two reasons, I understand by tuma why Reuven would have to pay Shimon if he did it on purpose. Avol midameya, but when it comes to midameya, ema lo. But I would say maybe by midameya, that would be okay. After all, a kohen could still eat this mixture, could sell it to a kohen. V'yashmuinon midameya, and if I would only have the case of midameya, mishum deshchiach, because that is a common thing that with that truma gets mixed together with chulin. Aval mitame. But the case of mitame de lo shchiach, which is not common, ema lo, I would say that, well, maybe because it's uncommon, Reuven would not have to pay Shimon. V'yash mo'inon mitame midameya. And if we would have the case of mitame and midameya, I would say Reuven has to pay Shimon, mishum de lo kimle b'derab minei, because there's no concept of kimle b'derab minei as there is by Menasech. Aval Menasech to kimle b'derab minei. But by Menasech, maybe we'll say kamle b'derab minei, and that he's going to be chayiv skila, but not going to be chayiv to pay. Ema lo. So say he wouldn't have to pay. Kamash Malon kid Rabbi Yirmiyah. So nisht, it's like Rabbi Yirmiyah that he does have to pay because he, at the time that he picks up the wine, he steals it and he's chayiv at that point to pay, and he's only chayiv skila later or misa later. I think it's skila later when he actually libates the wine for the getchkes. Okay. Ulahaditani avua Rabbi Oven. And what about the following teaching of? What about the following brayso taught by avua Derb Oven? But Rishona Ayomim, initially they would say Hamitame v'Menasech. Initially they only listed Mitame and Menasech, and they left Midamea out of it. Chazulomar Afa Midamea. But then in the end they said, you know what, Oichit Midamea. Kolhani Lamali. Why do I need all three? Why weren't Mitame and Menasech enough? So Tzricha, I need all three. The Ashma'inon Mitame. If I would only have Mitame, Mishum Dilo Kimle B'derabamine, because there's no concept of Kamle B'derabamine, that's why he would be chayiv to pay. Ava Menasech, Dikimle B'derabamine. But by Menasech, which we do say Kamle B'derabamine, Eimalo, so I'll say that that Reuven shouldn't have to pay Shimon because of Kamle B'derabamine. V'yash Mino Menasech, and if we would have the case of Menasech, Mishum Dikamafsid Le Legam, because by Menasech, even more so than Truma Tmeya, which we referred to a few minutes ago as being Mafsid Le Legamre. Yeinesech, even more so because it's also Ba'ano, right? Meaning, whereas Truma Tmeya, sure, nobody can eat it, but you could burn it, you can feed it to your animals. It's not also Ba'ano. Whereas Yeinesech is Mamish Legamre, also bashtia, also bano, you can't do anything with it. So that's why Reuven would have to pay Shimon of Matame, but by Matame Delo, mafsid legamre, that he's not mafsided entirely at the, right? Even with Truma Tmeya, you can't eat it, but you can but you can burn it, you can feed it to your animals. So Emalo, so I would say maybe Reuven does not have to pay Shimon. So now if we have both of these cases to say that both by Matame as well as by Menasech, Reuven has to pay Shimon. Mishum de hefsid meruba. It's because it's a lot of hefsid. wine, you lose all the wine, you lose all of the truma. Midamea, they have said muat emalo, but midamea, which you could still sell it to, right? It's a mixture of chulin and truma. A Yisrael can't eat it, but he could sell it to a kohen, albeit. I think that's the word, right? Albeit, I think. Granted, it's at a lower price, because there isn't much of a demand for dimua, meduma. But okay, tzricha. Therefore, we need all the cases to say that in all of the cases, the fellow would be Reuven would be chayv. Omar Chizkiya, says Chizkiya, dvar teire that mida oraisa echod shogeg ve'echod mezid. So whether a fellow does these things on purpose, whether a fellow does these things by accident, chayiv really is going to be chayiv. My time outcome hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, because hezek she'enu nikar is considered hezek, and therefore when Reuven causes Shimon damage by being mitame, midamea, minasech, so that's considered proper damage, and he's chayiv to pay. Umatam amu b'shogeg potter, and if he's chayiv to pay, then why do we say that b'shogeg he's potter? Kedei sheyodia. Well, because if we'd say that b'shogeg he's chayiv, because hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, well then he's not going to want to tell Shimon that his truma is tameya. That's right. Truma tameya is serious business. So we're going to want Reuven to tell Shimon that his truma is tameya and that he shouldn't eat it. But if he's going to be chayiv if he does so, now he's going to have to pay. Well, then he might not want to tell Shimon. So therefore we say, look, Reuven, you'll be potter. You did it by accident. You're potter. You can go and tell Shimon. Right. So better that you should go and tell Shimon that he doesn't eat it, but you are potter. Ihachi, if that's the case, afilu b'mezid nami. Well, if that's the case, then by mezid also he should be potter, because after all, we're going to want Reuven to tell Shimon. So hashta lo ozuke kamichavin odue lo modale. Well, the Gemara says, well, you don't need to worry about Reuven who does it b'mezid making sure that Shimon knows. That's the whole point, right? Why is Reuven being metame Shimon's truma? So that he won't be able to use it. And if he doesn't let Shimon know that he was metame it, well then Shimon won't know not to use it. So we don't have to be concerned about, by mezid that he won't tell him. The whole point of doing it b'mezid is to let him know. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, okay, so Rabbi Yochanan Omar, now Rabbi Yochanan says fakert. Dvar Torah echad shogeg v'echad mezid potter. Rabbi Yochanan says that mida oraisa, both by shogeg as well as by mezid, he is potter. He's going to be potter. My time outcome hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek, because hezek she'enu nikar is not hezek. So therefore he's really potter. My time amru b'mezid chayiv. So then why do we say that if he does it b'mezid he's chayiv? Shelo yeh kol echad v'echad olichem mitame tarosav shel chaver v'omer potter ani. Well, because we don't want everybody going around being mitame his friends tyrus and saying, well, I'm potter. Hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek. There's nothing you can do. Well, we can fine you. And we do. If you do it on purpose, we're gonna fine you. Yo, friends, the sun is bouncing off of the floor right into my eyes. How do you say eyes in Yiddish? Eugen? I think so. Right into my organ. The light is bouncing off the floor right into my organ. But seriously, it is. Like, what should I do? God, what do I do? Friends, what should I do? Maybe should I go like this? That's not bad, actually. Alright, let's see how that goes. That's actually not bad. Block my face with another book. That's actually really not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, it's very uncomfortable, but it's working. It's very uncomfortable though, granted. Let's see how long this can last for. Tanan, this is ridiculous. We learned in a Mishnah, this is ridiculous. But that sun is going in my organ. Maybe I close my eye. I close one eye. Yankee the Tsar, Yankee the Tsar, Yankee the Tsar, Yankee the Tsar. Serenity now. Okay, we're going to Yankee the Tsar. Yankee the Tsar. Tanan, Akayanim shepaglu b'mikdash mizidin chayavim Oh, so wow, Yankee Lazar is like you say that name and you just go for it. That's awesome, Yankee Lazar. Wow. Whenever you need like a boost of that's what it's gonna be. If ever like you need like a boost of confidence and like, that's it. I'm just going for it. Yankee Lazar. It's not. Akayanim shepaglu b'mikdash. So if you have kahanim that they made stuff pigul in the Beis Hamikdash. So what's pigul? Pigul is that if you do one of the, if I'm not mistaken, 4 primary avodas with intentions of eating the korban outside of its allotted time, those being shchita, holacha, shchita, kabbalah, holacha, zrika, if I'm not mistaken. Slaughtering the animal, receiving the blood, taking the blood to the altar, and then throwing the blood on the altar. So if you do any of those, if I'm not mistaken, with the intention of eating the animal outside of the proper time, right? Every korban has a certain amount of time that you're allowed to eat it. After that, it becomes noser and you can't eat it. So kohanim shepaglu b'mikdash. So if you have kohanim that in the course of their avoda they were mefagel the korban mizidim. So if they did it on purpose, chayovin, they are responsible to pay back the owner. Vitani Allah. And it was taught about it mipnei tikkun olam, because of tikkun olam. This actually gets a little bit confusing. Not like confusing because it's confusing. You just have to know how to read it. And I hope I remember how to read it. We'll find out in a second. Mipnei tikkun olam. Okay, so we said that if the kohanim were mefagel in the Beis Hamikdash, so if it was on purpose, or mizidim chayovim, if they did it on purpose, send the chayovim, v'tani olam, we taught about it mipnei tikkun olam. That is because of tikkun olam. Now, v'yomer hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek. If you say hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek, well then, b'mezid, if we're saying hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek, so being mefagel is hezek she'enu nikr. You can't tell in the animal what this guy had a certain intention. The Kohen had the wrong thought when he was doing the avoda. So there's nothing. It's hezek she'enu nikr. I can't tell in the animal that what the intention of the Kohen was. And if you say hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek, well then if he does it b'mezid, obviously he's going to be chayiv. So the omer hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek hay shogegim pturin mipnei tikkun ha'olam miba ilay. Well, then it shouldn't be, right, tikkun olam shouldn't be an explanation for why he's chayiv when he does it b'mezid. He's chayiv when he does it b'mezid because hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek. Rather, I would think that it should even apply to shogeg, and it's the shogeg that's the shogeg potter that is because of tikkun olam. That because we want the kohanim to tell the people that, hey, look, I had if it was by accident, right, we want the kohanim to tell the owners of the korban, look, I had the wrong intention, you're gonna have to bring another. So we say, technically speaking, you should be chayiv for that because hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek, but because of tikkun olam, that we want the kohanim to be able to tell the fellow without, or the opposite, if he has to pay, then he might not tell the fellow. So therefore, because of tikkun olam, so that the kohanim will be sure to tell, we say that he's pater. Hachinami ka'amar ina chinami mizidin chayovin. Yes, it's saying that if he does it on purpose, if they do it on purpose, they're chayiv. Hashogigim pturin b'pnei tikkun olam. But if the kohanim do it by accident, then they're pturin because of tikkun olam. Masiv Rabbi Lazar asks a kasha. Ha'osa melacha b'meichatas u'v'paras chatas. A fellow who does melacha with the water of the para aduma, or the para aduma itself. Now, the para aduma, of course, is not able to do any work. I believe we learned in Masechta Sukkah about like all these kids. Oh, that was something else. That was for the kids that would burn the para aduma. But anyways, the para aduma is not able to do any work at all. And also, you can't do any work with the meichatas, with the water, with the ashes in it. So now, ha'osim malacha b'meichatas u'v'paras chatas pater medini adam v'chay b'dina shamayim. Now, a fellow who does melacha with the meichatas or the paras chatas, so he's pater medini adam, but he's chayiv b'dina shamayim. V'yomet hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek. But if you say that hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek b'dina adam nami l'chayiv, so then you should oichet be chayiv b'dina adam. He caused hezek she'enu nikr shmei hezek. He should be chayiv. So who most of them? Mefayikla. Rabbi Lazar answered it. Paras she'echnisa lerivka amanas shetinok v'tidosh. Look, the reason why he's patur b'dinei adam is because, well, with the part it's talking about that he brought the red heifer into the barn in order to nurse. But also he also had a secondary purpose. Now, that happens memela, that he also wanted, while the paraduma is there, would also memela thresh some of the wheat that was there. But technically speaking, he's only taking the paraduma in to nurse, right? So, and meaning he's bringing the paraduma into the barn in order to nurse. That obviously is allowed. Now, memela, what's going to happen is, while the paraduma is nursing, it's also going to be threshing whatever wheat is there as it, I guess, stands on it and crushes it or whatever. But nobody needs to know that was his intention, So in that case, right, that is where we're saying that he's going to be patur, because it's just it's a matter of thought. It's not a matter of actual damage being done. It's just a matter of it's something that can really go either way, right? The animal's just nursing, but it happens to be that his thought was different. So in that case, that is why he's going to be patur b'dinei adam. Mechatas, and also by mechatas sheshakal bo and mishkalos. It's talking about also that you have a scale, and you have the mechatas on the scale. It was just on the scale. Now you happen to say, oh, you know what? Let me actually see, how much this thing on the scale weighs. But you don't. It's not. It's not obvious to anybody that you're using the mechatas as a weight, right? I guess you have two things on the scale. On one side is the mechatas. Nobody knows that your intention is that you want to use the mechatas as a scale. Anybody observing just looks like, I guess, there's some things on a scale. So because of these things, these are things that are sort of just entirely in your mind, up to your sort of judgment of what your intention, of what you're planning to do with these situations. So that is why you're patur b'dinei adam, but you'd be chayav b'dinei shamayim. Ve'amar Rava mechatos sheshakal bo and mishkalos ksher. But one second, but Rava says that if you have mechatos that you use as a weight, no problem, it's kosher. So lo kasha habegufan ha b'chenegdon. So it actually. So actually it depends. I really got a Yankee Lazar this light stuff because it's mamish right in my organ. Anyways, so it depends. When we say that you're chayiv, it's actually because you're using the body itself, as opposed to Rava when he says that it's kosher. It's because you're using it as a weight on a scale. What the heck does that mean? So when Rava says that it's kosher, it's actually what we just described a minute ago. You have a scale, and on one side of the scale you have this mechatos. So nobody's to say for sure that you're using the mechatos as a weight. That's up, that's entirely in your head what your intention is. So therefore that's kosher. That's fine. But if you use the actual mechatas, for example, if you take some meat and you if I'm not mistaken, this is what it means. If you take meat and you put it into the mechatas, and you can see how much of the water it displaces, so you can know how much the volume of meat is. Well, then that would be a problem. But then, for the Gemara, begufan ma'aseh ka'avid bihu. But if he's using the water itself in order to figure out the volume of meat, well, you're actually using the mechatas for malacha. And if we say hezek sheno nikr is hezek, b'dinei adam nami l'chayiv, you should oichid be chayiv b'dinei adam. Why are we saying he's patur b'dinei adam in this case? No, they're both, in both cases it's talking about both where Rava says it's kosher, as well as the case where we say that you're patur b'dinei adam. It's talking about when using it as a weight. It just depends if, right, because it says l'mishmeres, right, l'mishmeres may nida chatasi, right, that it says by the mechatos that has to be l'mishmeres, you have to guard it. And if you take your mind off of it, well, then that's where you're going to be, where it's going to be chayav b'dinei shamayim. But if you didn't take your mind off of it, and it's just being, it's on one side of the scale, so then it would be kosher. Wow, this light, it's mamish. No, when is the sun going to move already? How do I okay, Yankee the Zar. Okay, most of Rav Papa says, Rav Papa asks a kasha. Gozel matbeya v'nifsol. Right, Ruvain steals an $1,000 bill from Shimon, and then all of a sudden, $1,000 bills are no longer acceptable. All $1,000 bills are worthless. Okay. Truma v'nitmes, right? Or Reuven stole truma from Shimon, and it became tameh. Chometz v'avar lava Pesach. Reuven stole chometz from Shimon, and then it was Pesach, and now it's also ba'ano. Omer lo, arishachu lefanecha. So Reuven could say to Shimon, hey Shimon, look, here's your $1,000 bill. Enjoy. I mean, it's worthless right now. Okay, we're saying, yeah, whatever. You can just give it right back to him. But if you say that damage that is not recognizable is considered damage, such as over here, he's stolen $1,000 bill, he's giving it $1,000, he's giving the $1,000 bill back. There's nothing on the surface of things that is problematic, but it's valueless when he's giving it back to him. And if you're saying the hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, hai gazlanu, Reuven's a thief, umamonu ma'alya boy l'shalume. He should have to pay back Shimon. So you have to say it's taka good kasha. If you say that hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, Reuven should have to pay him back. Lema kitanoi. So now let's say that this machloka, that this kasha of hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek or hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek, let's say it's taka machlokas tanoim between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda. Hametame v'medameya v'menasech echad shogeg v'echad mezid chayiv di Reb Meir. Reb Meir says that when it comes to metame, medameya, menasech, regardless of if it was intentional or not intentional, chayiv, that is the opinion of Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda Omer says, Reb Yehuda, b'shogeg poter b'mezid chayiv. If he does it b'shogeg, he's poter. If he does it b'mezid, he is chayiv. So my lab, let's say that the machlokas is the marsover hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, that Reb Meir holds hezek she'enu nikar shmei hezek, and that's why he says that whether it's b'shogeg, whether it's b'mezid, he's going to be chayiv. Umarsover lo shmei hezek, whereas Reb Yehuda says it is not considered hezek, and therefore he's poter. But when it comes to mezid, so we find it, we do a knas, we find him to have to pay, because we don't want people being matami stuff. But Reb Yehuda would say hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak t'chuli alma, everyone agrees hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek. So it says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak nisht. It's not a machlokas tanoim. Both Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda agree hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek is not considered hezek. It's a question of, do we make a knas by shogeg because of mezid? Meaning, we're saying hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek. It's not considered damage. Okay. Now, both both Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda, when it comes to mezid, say the guy's gonna have to pay, even though hezek she'enu nikar lo shmei hezek. But if he does it on purpose, he's gonna have to pay because we find him. What if he does it by accident? Reb Meir says if he does it by accident, he also needs to pay because kansin and shogeg atu mezid, right? That, well, since if he does it on purpose, he's going to have to pay. Also, if he does by accident, he's going to have to pay. Whereas Reb Yehuda says no, lo kansin and shogeg atu mezid, that by mezid he has to pay, but not by shogeg. To my server kansu shogeg atu mezid, that's Reb Meir. Who my server lo kansu shogeg atu mezid, that's Reb Yehuda. V'romi de Reb Meir ad Reb Meir. Now let's ask the kasha. Right? Reb Meir seems to be contradicting himself. But Oichet Reb Yehuda seems to be contradicting himself. The Tanis, we learn in Brisa, I'm a vashel b'Shabbos, that if a fellow cooks on Shabbos, b'shogeg yocha, b'mezid lo yochel, b'shogeg yeachel, b'mezid lo yochel, div Reb Meir. Reb Meir says, well, if it's by accident, it can be eaten on Shabbos. If it was on purpose, then it cannot be eaten on Shabbos. So we see that whereas by those other three things, Reb Meir says, bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid chayiv. Over here he's saying, look, b'shogeg it can be eaten, b'mezid it cannot be eaten. Reb Yehuda Omer, whereas Reb Yehuda says, b'shogeg yochel motzoi Shabbos. Look, if you did it by accident, you cannot eat it on Shabbos. Motzoi Shabbos fine, but not on Shabbos. B'mezid lo yochel elamas, if you did it on purpose, you can't eat it ever. Reb Yochanan Asanda Omer, b'shogeg yochel motzoi Shabbos la'acherim v'lo lo. Reb Yochanan Asanda is a shtickle more strict than Reb Yehuda, and he says, look, if he did it by accident, so Motzoi Shabbos can be eaten, but only by other people, not by him. B'mezid, and if he does it on purpose, if he cooks on purpose on Shabbos, lo yochel olamis, it can never be eaten, lo lov, lo lachirim, not to him, not to anybody else. Kasha de Reb Meir, ad Reb Meir, kasha de Reb Yehuda, ad Reb Yehuda. So Reb Meir seems to be problematic because initially he said by mitamim, mitameh, menasech, he says echad shogeg ve'echad mezid chayiv. Yet over here by mevashel, he's saying b'shogeg it can be eaten, b'mezid it can't. Rabbi Yehuda says by mitame midamea minasech that b'shogeg potter, b'mezid chayiv, and yet by mavashal he's saying b'shogeg and b'mezid cannot be eaten. B'shogeg be eaten after Shabbos, but not on Shabbos. So Reb Meir lo kasha. So Reb Meir is no problem. Ki konis b'drabonon, that the knas is by dirabonons, right? That midamea, that right. We said hezek shenunikar lo shmei hezek. So therefore mitame midamea minasech, you have to pay because of a fine midirabonon. B'daraisa lo, right? And therefore we have the concept of divrei sofrim tzrichin chizik, right? That when it comes to, where am I? Right, divrei sofrim tzrichin chizik. That when it comes to dinim dirabonon, you have to be extra strict to make sure that people take them seriously. So therefore, by mitame midamea minasech bein b'shogeg bein b'mezid chayev. But b'daraisa lo konis. But b'daraisas, which are, chayiv midaraisa, Shabbos, skila, right? So chorus. So it doesn't need extra chizik, and therefore if you did it by accident, so then you can eat it. But if you did it on purpose, you can't eat it. But one second. But minasech is the oraisa, right? Libating for getchkis is midoraisa, and Reb Meir is saying that bein b'shogeg bein b'mezid chayiv. So mishum chumad avodas kochavim konasle. Well, because getchkis that's serious stuff. So there Reb Meir it makes the knas even by the getchkis, even though it's doraisa. Rabbi Yehuda lo kasha, also Rabbi Yehuda is not a question. Ki lo konis b'drabonon. Look, by dirabonons, they're only dirabonons. So therefore, he doesn't make the knas, and therefore, b'shogeg is going to be potter. B'doraisa konis, but by doraisa, such as cooking on Shabbos, he makes a knas, and he says whether it's b'shogeg, whether it's b'mezid, you can eat it. But what about menasech, libating for the getchkis, is doraisa? And he seems to be saying b'shogeg is potter. Well, that's avodah zarah. When it comes to getchkis, people know to stay away. We don't need to make a gzeira for that. So okay, fine, friends. That was Daf Nun Gimel Masechta Gittin. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.